Welcome to the episode 5 of our book review series. In this video, we will be talking about The Alchemist. This is a philosophical fictional novel written by Paulo Coelho. As being a philosophical novel, each line has some deep meaning. I'll try to make you understand their meaning. If you want to see other videos of our book review series, then click on the I button or check the description where you could find the link to the whole playlist and some of our best book reviews. This is the story of a boy who had a dream and had started going after his dream. In this book, author had shown what achieving dreams really look like. The best thing about achieving dreams is that when you are nearest to achieve your dream seems to be the farthest. A single step and you are there staring at your dream. The protagonist of this story is a boy named Santiago. He is a shepherd, he is a voracious reader, and he was always reading a book and used that book as his pillow, as he was always roaming with his sheep. Almost every week he had the same dream. He always thought that everything in this world had the ability to understand. That is the reason he had different names for each of his different ships. He was used to call each of them by their separate name. He was used to talk with them about the books he had read. Sometimes he read them some sections of some books which he liked. Sometimes he would talk with them about the things he had seen in some villages. But for last few days he has only told them about the girl whom he had already met in a village where he was used to shed his sheep. And in a few more days he would be reaching that same village in their house to shed his sheep again after a year. In the last year when he was there, the girl's village, they had a short conversation. That is, the girl and the boy had a short conversation. The girl asked the boy how he can read. That is, when he learned to read. The boy answered, in school. She again asked, well, if you know how to read, then why you are a shepherd? The boy did not answer this question. But this time, when he would reach that village and will again meet that girl, he would tell her his story, that his parents wanted him to become a priest. He is well educated and know Latin, Spanish and theology. But deep down, he never wanted to become a priest. What he wanted is traveling. His father tried his best to convince him that he had chosen the wrong way, but all are in vain. At last, his father said, among us the ones who travels are shepherds. Hearing this, the boy made his mind to become a shepherd, and now he is a shepherd. While he was going away from his home, he could mark something in his father's eye, the desire to travel the world, which had been there in his mind, but now it had been buried dead. At that time, father gave him 3 gold coins and asked him to use it mindfully. Suddenly, the boy remembered about Tarifa, an old woman who had once interpreted his dreams. The old lady had told her, dreams are the languages of God. Then the boy said the old lady about his dreams. In his dreams, he saw a boy playing with his sheep. Usually, his sheep were afraid of strangers, but this boy was different. His sheep loved this boy, and suddenly the boy held his hands and transported him to the Egyptian pyramids, and there he told him that if he would come there, he would find a treasure. After hearing everything, the old lady answered that if I will interpret your dream, then I would charge you something. What do you want? 1/10 of your treasure if you find it, the old lady said. Santiago was very fond of books and he always had a book with him. That book gave him 2 benefits, as he uses that book as pillow and read them while grazing sheep. At that day, while he was sitting on a bench and reading book, an old man came and sat beside him. The old man wanted to have a conversation with Santiago, but Santiago wanted to focus on his reading. The old man asked Santiago, "What book are you reading?" This made Santiago angry, and Santiago handed him the book. The man flipped the book and said, "Irritating book. This book is also like every other book that says at some point of your life you lose control of what is happening in your life." The old man knew the story of Santiago. They had chatted for a while. Then the old man asked to give him 1/10 of his sheep. Then he would say him how to find his hidden treasure. The old man said himself as a king, and he said that you are successful in discovering your destiny. That is, Santiago is successful in discovering his own destiny. The old king explained the boy about dreams. He said, "When we are young, we see dreams, but as we grow old, a strong, mysterious force slowly convinces us that our dreams are unachievable. Though it is a negative force, but it prepares your body and soul to be able to realize your destiny." He said probably the most remarkable statement there. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. The old man asked for 1/10 of his sheep by tomorrow. Then only he would tell him how to get to that treasure. Now the boy was very confused. In just few years he had learned everything about sheep. Those sheep were his treasures, and he was uncertain about giving those sheep. Change always scares people, but it is the only thing which drives us forward. On the very next day, the boy reached there with 6 sheep and told him that one of his friends has brought the rest 54. The old man explained this as a beginner's luck. That is, when you first try to do something, the nature always tries to make you win. This is just because to give you motivation that success is possible. Similarly, when I uploaded my first video, on that very day it touched 13 views. My first book review has 21 views, and so on and so forth. The boy asked, "Where is the treasure?" The old man answered, "In Egyptian pyramids." The boy asked how to get to their treasure. The old man replied, "Just follow the owner." In other words, good luck. The old man gave him 2 stones, a black one, a white one. The black one signifies yes and the white one signifies no. By being with sea for a long time, he had a good knowledge of omens. He could predict which path to take by watching sky and ground. He knew that the presence of a certain bird specified a snake was nearby. A certain shrub signifies presence of water ahead. At that time, he was in a bar where everyone seems to be a stranger. But he had the best thing which a man can possess, that is money. By selling all those 54 sheep, he had enough money to go to Egypt. Suddenly, he heard of someone who is speaking Spanish. That boy told him that they were just 2 hours away from Spain. There Santiago asked his new friend to help him reach pyramids of Egypt. Both of them had a conversation while sitting in the bar. After some time, when Santiago prepared to leave with his new friend, the owner of the bar tried to say something, but he was prohibited by the language barrier. Both of them walked till the market, where the new friend asked for money so that he could get 2 camels and both of them could start their journey. Santiago handed him all the money. At that time, market was busy and they were passing through the market, and suddenly Santiago realized that he was alone. When he turned back, he could not see his friend. He hoped that his friend was separated due to the rush, so he waited. Slowly the sun drowned, but his friend did not return. Now he started weeping. He thought the God is to be so kind. but he is very unkind to those who believed in their dream. Before 24 hours everything was okay, but now he is in such a place where he has nothing, no ships, no money, even he didn't know the language. He was helpless. With confusion, he wanted to use those two stones that the old man had given to them, and asked if the old man's blessing is still with me, and randomly picked a stone. The answer came to be yes. At that time, he had two options: either to think himself as a victim of a thief or as an adventurer of treasure. He chose the second one. Then he changed his perception of viewing that situation. That is not a strange place. This is a new place and he loves to travel. He just went through that market and by noon he was hungry and was passing by a crystal store. There was a sign which reads, "Several languages were spoken in the shop." And he asked the shopkeeper if he wants, that is, if the shopkeeper wants, the boy could clean the crystals present on the shop in exchange of some food to eat. The shopkeeper allowed the boy to clean those crystals. While he was cleaning, two customers visited the store and owner thought it to be a good omen. So he decided to keep that boy in his store. In return, the boy asked for enough money to go to Egypt. But the owner laughed. He replied, "If you would get a good commission for selling each crystal, even then you can't go there." This struck the boy as a bolt from the blue. He thought, why he is alive? The old man offered him enough money to go back to his homeland, but he denied. It had been a month the boy had been working in the crystal store. On that day, the boy proposed to keep some crystal outside the shop, which would attract more customers. The merchant asked why the boy wants to go. The boy replied, "To see the pyramids." The merchant said, "They are just a piece of stone, nothing else. You can build one of them in your backyard." In response, the boy answered, "You don't know what is traveling." On this, the old man's eye filled with tears. He explained the saying of Holy Quran. It says, every Muslim should once visit Makkah. When he was a child, he also had the dream of gathering enough money to build a shop and then becoming enough rich to go to Mecca. But he could never trust anybody under whose guidance he could leave the shop. Then he gave permission to the young boy to build a display outside the shop. The boy again proposed to sell tea, but the old man questioned that there are lots of tea sellers here. The boy answered, "We would be selling in crystal glasses." On a particular night, he found that he had enough money to get him a return ticket and 120 sheep. On the next morning, the boy waited for the old man to wake up, then told him, "I am leaving today." While he was packing up, he found his old jacket. When he picked it up, those two stones fell down, and suddenly he remembered the old king. Now he had to make a choice. Either he would go back and get double the number of sheep he had earlier, or continue pursuing his dreams. Every time in your life when you face some problems, you have two options: go back to the previous stage or pursue your hustle, and most choose first one. He remembered that the merchant in whose he had been working imports his crystal from a land across the desert, and he is well aware that Egypt is also across the desert. So he reached that place where that importer lived. There was also another Englishman who had immense knowledge about different religions and languages. He had been in the quest for an alchemist. Who is alchemist? A man who had the knowledge of philosopher's stone and elixir of life. One of the friends of the Englishman had told him that in the deserts of Arab there is a man who is more than 200 years old, and suddenly he found the alchemist, as this long life could only be achieved by the elixir of life. Both of them started their journey together. Their Tonga leader asked them to believe in his words and do accordingly. The desert is a capricious lady, and to survive, everyone should believe and obey the Tonga leader's word. While in the Tonga, he remembered his sheep and the merchant's daughter. He saw that while moving through the desert, sometimes there were sands so smooth and some rocky places. At those places, they had to take a small detour and move again. Though they had made thousands of detours, always they headed up towards the same direction. This is life. When life gave you setback, you can always take a detour. But after the detour, you must be traveling in the same direction. On a night, the boy and the driver of the camel discussed for some good times. Both of them shared their stories. Englishman was always busy in reading his books. On a particular day, a hooded man appeared. They were Bedouins. He informed that there was a rumor of a tribal wars. On that day, a Tonga leader decided not to light the fire anymore. That night, the Englishman and the boy had a conversation. The Englishman explained the boy everything he had learned. He said, in alchemy there is a principle that governs all the things. When you want something with all your heart, at that time you are the closest to the soul of earth, and it is a positive force that drives you towards your goal. The boy read the books of the Englishman. Though he couldn't understand everything clearly, he could understand that most important text in the literature of alchemy contains a few lines which are inscribed on the surface of an emerald. The boy asked, if there are just a few lines, then why are you reading so many books? The Englishman answered, just to understand those few lines. A few days later, they reached the oasis. Oasis was a place there was endless rows of palm and a small pond. On a certain day, he found that camels are groaning, a row of dead plants, and all these are bad omens. Then the leader said that we will be staying here for a long time, till the tribal wars are over. The boy realized that the closer he comes to his dreams, it appears to be more difficult. Both the boy and the Englishman were assigned different tent houses. But the man reached near the boy and asked him to help him in searching the alchemist. They searched for the whole day, but the oasis was way bigger than they had imagined. Then they decided to ask someone other to help. The Englishman suggested the boy to ask that where they could find a man who cures everybody's illness. And finally they asked a lady who was there to take water, and he pointed to south, where there was a hut, but the boy felt deep love for that girl. Her name was Fatima. On the very next day, at the same place, boy was waiting for Fatima, and the Englishman arrived and explained what had happened earlier. When he met the alchemist said, if you had ever turned lead into gold? The Englishman answered, no. Then you should try, said the alchemist. Now from today the Englishman started again from the scratch. Then comes Fatima. The boy told everything to Fatima and asked her that if she would marry the boy. The boy told Fatima that he is not sure how many more days this war would continue, so he had decided to stop chasing his treasure and be a shepherd and live happily with Fatima. But Fatima wanted him to search his treasure. On that night, while sitting near fire, he noticed hawks flying over his head. While watching those hawks, an image just flashed. That is, a group of people carrying sword and getting ready to invade the oasis. He reached near a chieftain, in other words, the leader of the tribe. In that tent house, there were 8 chieftains. He told them what he had just seen, that is, what omens have told him recently. They agreed to be prepared tomorrow, and for tomorrow only everyone will be given their weapons to defend themselves. When he was just roaming at that night, a man came in black dress and put a sword on his neck and asked him a few questions, which he answered courageously. Then the man told him to meet him on tomorrow's evening. On the next day, at the noon time, 5 men reached there, who were hiding their weapons, and when they reached near the tent of the chieftain, they bring out their rifles and started shooting into the empty tent, and they were killed by the tribes. The boy was given 50 pieces of gold in everything. In the evening, the boy reached near the black-dressed man's tent. It was the alchemist. Both of them chatted for a time. Then the alchemist instructed the boy to sell that camel and buy a horse. The boy bid goodbye to Fatima and told her that today he was going, but he will return, and he loved her. From the very next day, Fatima would send flying kisses, hoping those air will touch the boy. On the 7th day of their journey, they chatted for some time in the camp. The boy told him that he had travelled a long way. I had hoped you would teach me something. That is, the boy had hoped to Alchemist to teach him something along the way. The alchemist replied, alchemy could only be learned by doing, not listening. On the way, the alchemist told him to always listen to his heart. The boy complained that his heart was a traitor. The alchemist explained, people are afraid to pursue their dreams because they feel they were unable to achieve them. Your heart is afraid that it will have to suffer, but what it doesn't know that fear of suffering is worse than to suffer. On that night, the alchemist told the boy to follow his heart and continue in the direction of pyramid. But before your dream is realized, you will have to go through a test, and that is the point when most people give up. Everything begins with a beginner's luck, and everything ends with winner being severely tested. In their travel, they were being caught by tribesmen several times, but always the alchemist handled the situation, and they were out on their way again. The mountains are approaching, and they were just 2 days away from the pyramids. The boy asked the man to teach him alchemy. The alchemist said, you already know it. Suddenly, they found that there were thousands of men in front of them, who took them to their camp, and there the chief asked them some questions, which all were answered by the alchemist. The alchemist gave all those money that the boy had and told them that he was an alchemist and he can destroy their whole camp in a stroke of wind. The tribesmen asked the boy to show them, but the boy wanted 3 days. The boy has now a big problem. He didn't know how to turn himself into wind. The alchemist answered that listen to your heart and it will tell you how to turn yourself into wind. The 3rd day arrived. The chief with his officer along with the alchemist wanted to see the boy. The boy took them to a cliff nearby. While standing on the top, he remembered the desert, and the desert replied, what do you want? The boy said, on your sand somewhere there is a girl whom I loved. I wanted to return to her and I need your help. The desert told, yeah, I would help you, but only alone I can do nothing. You need the help of wind. The boy asked the wind, help me. The wind asked, you can't be winds. The boy answered, yeah, I can be. I have read winds, deserts, oceans, and stars all are within me. And the wind started blowing harder, raising the stands above. Slowly the winds became harder and just destroyed the military camp. The very next day they were released from the camp and they again continued their journey. When they are just 3 hours away from the pyramid, the alchemist bid goodbye. But before he would leave, he showed him how to turn lead into gold and gave him a piece of the gold and kept another piece for his future uses. The boy reached the pyramids and started digging. while some men appeared and beat him and took that piece of gold from him. The boy told them about his dream. The leader among the men told him that I had also a dream, that is, to have a treasure in a church of Spain where a shepherd and his sheep lived. Now the boy was clear about his treasure. He took that piece of gold that Alchemist had saved and returned to Spain and got his chest filled with Spanish gold coins. At last, I would repeat the same thing that I had been telling you every time. If you liked what we had said, then please go and get that book and start reading. If you want any other book to get reviewed, then you can comment it below. We would bring that for you. If you have any other suggestions to make our videos better, please comment it below. We will be gratified for your comments.